Hi, everybody, and congratulations, Barbara, on the 25th anniversary of the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy. Barbara, as First Lady, you helped America understand that teaching our children to read isn't just a job for our schools. It's a job for all of us. After the White House, you supported family literacy programs in all 50 states, and today you're still going. So Barbara, on behalf of the American people, thank you for everything that you do. I know that you've never had trouble expressing yourself, and I can't think of a better person to help more Americans express themselves through reading and learning. Congratulations.
Because of my close relationship with her father, the Bush boys sometimes say I'm a brother from another mother. Barbara instead refers to me as the black sheep of the family. I guess I'm honored by both, but more importantly, I'm incredibly grateful to Barbara Bush for her unfailing kindness to me, for her tireless commitment to advancing literacy in our country. To advance literacy, you have to be motivated by the simple belief that everybody deserves a chance to develop their God-given skills. Whether helping parents to improve their literacy skills by 1.6 grade levels in just 9 months, or helping elementary school students behind in reading to advance their literacy skills by 1 full academic year, the Barbara Bush Foundation is finding cost-effective solutions that are having a lasting impact. I wish you, Barbara, and the rest of my honorary family all the best. I don't like being the brother from another mother. I'd rather be your black sheep. Thanks again for all you've done and continue to do to strengthen our nation by helping more people to live their best story.
It is my honor to follow my brother with a different mother. Mom has taught a lot of people if you can't read, you cannot succeed. Until I published my book, a lot of people didn't think I could read, much less write. Mom, because of your tireless efforts, not only did I learn to read, but so have a lot of other people. And the world is better off because of your tireless efforts to raise money and support groups that are effective in providing people with the great gift of literacy. I also appreciate your humor. You make a lot of people happy.
Might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. See, I'm a hot air balloon, I can go to space. With the air like I don't care, baby, by the way. Come on, you know the song. Because I'm alone if you feel like a room without a room. Because I'm alone if you feel happiness is true. Because I'm alone if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm alone if you feel that's what you want to do. Bring me down, ain't nothing. Bring me down, my level's too high. Bring me down, ain't nothing. Bring me down, my level's too high. Bring me down, ain't nothing. Bring me down, my level's too high. Bring me down, ain't nothing. Bring me down, come on. Because I'm alone if you feel like a room without a room. Because I'm alone if you feel happiness is the truth. Because I'm alone if you don't know what happiness is to you. Because I'm alone if you feel that's what you wanna do.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome George P. Bush and Amanda Bush.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in thanking native Texan and American Idol contestant Vince Powell for joining us this evening. And of course, the combined show choirs from the Richardson Independent School District, Legacy from Richardson High, and also Forte from J.J. Senior Pierce. That was a terrific performance. How about that?
It is an honor to have Presidents Obama, Clinton, and Bush 43 send their best wishes to Ganny on this, the 25th anniversary of the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy. And I know that you will agree, Ganny does make people very happy, especially when it comes to celebrating reading. And speaking of reading, we are thrilled to once again have books donated from our wonderful authors in your gift bags tonight. In addition, we have special books that have been donated from our dear friend and author, Daniel Silva.
As a quick Bush family update, Manny and I were just in Kennebunkport, Maine last weekend for the wedding of my first cousin, Ellie LeBlond, who is Daro's oldest daughter. Most of our family came together for this special occasion. The bride was beautiful, the weather was gorgeous, and Gampy socks, well, were not disappointing. The summer began with my grandfather turning 90, and in the famous words of my grandmother, once again jumping out of a perfectly fine airplane. Here he is floating gently down to earth, although he did land with a little bit of a thud. It apparently did not deter him one bit. In fact, he's already saying when he turns 95, he wants to do it again. My money's on him actually pulling that off. One of the highlights for me on a personal level this past year was representing my grandfather at the World War II Memorial on the 70th anniversary of his being shot down over the islands of Chichijima and the 69th anniversary of our victory over Japan in the Pacific Theater. He was a bit embarrassed about his anniversary being celebrated in the sense that he's always thought the most successful pilots are those that actually have an equal amount of landings and takeoffs. Knowing him as you all do, he would rather talk about current day heroes, such as the men and women aboard the USS George H.W. Bush, which is currently in the Persian Gulf and engaged in combat activities in its prosecution of ISIL. Needless to say, he is very proud of the crew that currently man the ship. As for Ganny, well, she's saying that she's planning her 98th birthday next summer, but with one caveat, that she doesn't want to celebrate her birthday, she wants to celebrate literacy, which is exactly what we're planning to do tonight. Her one request, no parachute jumping.
Now we would like to welcome you to our 13th annual celebration of reading. As you know, the celebration supports the most important work of the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy. The goal of the foundation is to achieve 100% literacy in our country. To tell you a little bit more about the foundation's programs is the foundation's president, Liza McFadden.
It's a privilege and an honor to join you here on our silver anniversary and to share more about our work, our passion. Consider this, Barbara Bush was 64 years old when she first started the foundation. She had already been a long and tireless advocate for literacy. And she often tells the story, and she'll start off by saying, you know, I was jogging around the Washington Monument. Can you believe I was jogging around the Washington Monument? And I had this idea of what could I do that would make the biggest difference as First Lady? And it came to me, it must be literacy. And that was the start. Her vision was that this foundation would focus on programs that help the very youngest children learn to read with their parents. We often talk about education reform, but Mrs. Bush was a decade before the first early childhood programs were even available. Her legacy today, we have started over 1,700 family literacy programs around the nation. These are programs where moms and their children can go to school together. We think, all of us, that literacy is like a civil right, something that we should have. But if you're under the age of 5 or over the age of 18, what we consider the bookends of education, it's sometimes very difficult. In fact, for low-income mothers, they are less than half as likely to enroll their children in early literacy programs, but we know they love the opportunity. In fact, our family literacy programs, for the most part, have waiting lists so long, we just simply stop taking names. Over 30 years ago, Ambassador Nancy Brinker and the Susan G. Komen Foundation started a conversation on breast cancer. Back then, it was a very embarrassing conversation and difficult to have at a cocktail party. But now, athletes wear pink socks, pink shoes, and there are signs everywhere to help the girls. We too believe that we must start a bigger conversation around illiteracy. For those of you who are old enough to remember, Mrs. Bush, when she was First Lady, worked with ABC to air many commercials on illiteracy and have a dynamic conversation. Yet today, the problem is even worse. So on our 25th anniversary, we want to rekindle that flame and take a page from Mrs. Bush's playbook and reintroduce a conversation on literacy. I'd like to introduce you to Jack, who was nimble, and Jack, who was quick, but Jack, who couldn't read about the candlestick. Here's our new PSA, recently filmed and produced in Dallas, and will be soon airing nationally on Comcast.
Jack was nimble, Jack was quick, but Jack never learned to read about the candlestick. But Jack, don't you worry, if we rewind in a hurry, we'll soon have you learning to read.
Illiteracy is a critical problem facing America today. The inability to read is a key factor in high unemployment, low earned income, and poor health. But together, we can solve this problem, one child, one family at a time.
We're also introducing something else new, a generation of literacy warriors, teen trendsetters. They're teens trained in reading through research techniques and committed to our battle to fight illiteracy. These teens are going to mentor first graders who are at least 6 to 8 months behind where they should be in reading. And the results, they're going to be stupendous. Over half of the first graders in the program that we piloted in Dallas this past year, by the end of that year, were caught up and on grade level, confident and poised for educational success. This school year, we're going to open 20 new programs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I'd like you to meet one of those teen warriors. Her name is Kennedy Anderson, and she is a 9th grader who last year participated in the program in Fort Worth at Uplift Academy. She mentored first grader Mesmerize. Kennedy, would you please come forward and share your story?
Good evening. My name is Kennedy Anderson. I am 14 years old and I am a 9th grader scholar at Uplift Mighty. I enjoy school and playing sports. My favorite sport is basketball. My favorite subjects are math and history. I like history because we learn about so many great leaders. Leadership is important in becoming a young adult because wherever you go, there needs to be leaders. For example, in the workplace, if you don't have the skills necessary to lead a group of people, you won't be of much use to anybody there. I can only imagine if my school's principal did not have the qualities to lead the teachers and students at my school. We might decide to take 3-hour-long lunches. But because he is fair, disciplined, and understanding, he is able to lead the school. Leadership possesses these qualities. I've come across many leaders. A few of them have made more of an impact on my life, and I consider them my heroes. For example, my 8th grade year, my science teacher, Miss Talent. She helped us better understand the concept of science while keeping us interested. But what makes her my hero is that she was always understanding and fair. She always expected the best of me and pushed me to be a leader as well. Even on my bad days, she would try to understand how I was feeling to show that she cared for me. I too want to be a leader and someone's hero. Last year, I had the opportunity to show my leadership skills through the Teen Trendsetters program. There, I met Mesmerize, who was my mentee. Mesmerized is fun to be around, she makes me laugh, and we make reading fun together. My favorite part about being in Teen Trendsetters is being around all the younger scholars and teaching them new things, especially if it will help them later on in life. The biggest thing I learned being in Teen Trendsetters was that reading with younger children takes a lot of patience, but it is always worth it. In the future, I know that I will work better with children because of my participation in Teen Trendsetters. It has helped me grow as a leader and a reader. I would like to thank the Barbara Bush Foundation and Teen Trendsetters for allowing me to speak tonight. It has been an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
Isn't that wonderful? That's what your dollars tonight are going to support. It's a wonderful testimony, and Kennedy, you are our hero. Thank you. And now on to the rest of our program with our wonderful authors. Here to introduce the first author is Pierce Bush. He is the agency head of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Houston, Texas, and one of my favorite Bush cousins. Pierce?
You know, thank you, Liza, for that distinguished calling out of being one of your favorites. You know, the author I'm going to introduce is Kelly Corrigan, and she flew in today from California, and I'd be remiss if I didn't share with you all a brief story. About 3 weeks ago, I was in California for an old roommate's wedding. It was in Venice Beach, kind of a liberal place, as we all know, and I saw a guy, I was walking down the sidewalk, and a guy was staring at me, and he finally mustered the courage to come up to me, and he said, "Man, you must get told all the time that you look a lot like George W. Bush." And before I could explain to him that George W. Bush is my uncle, he kind of cut me off and said, "Boy, that must really piss you off." So, Kelly, welcome to Texas. It's good to be here with so many of our family supporters who support my grandmother's great cause. I cannot thank you enough on behalf of my entire family. Thank you, guys. Let's give it a minute. I can't go on too long. If my grandmother were here, she would cut me off by now already. Kelly Corrigan rose to fame in 2008. When her debut memoir, The Middle Place, became an instant New York Times bestseller. With grace, wit, and strength, the author chronicles her battle with breast cancer, introducing us to her father, the lively and eternally optimistic source of her courage and power to win the fight. Ironically, while still undergoing chemo, Kelly and George, and her father's name is George, learn that he too has been diagnosed with late-stage cancer. The result is Kelly's departure from what she calls life's middle place, the point in time between grown childhood and adulthood. And now this year, Kelly's newest bestseller, Glitter and Glue, examines the bond, sometimes nourishing, sometimes exasperating, occasionally divine, between mothers and daughters, who she brought tonight also. So without further ado, Kelly Corrigan.
Hi, it's such an honor to be here. I must say that I did this 5 years ago in DC, or out in Maryland actually, and when I met Barbara Bush, I went from totally nervous to totally at home because she's just like my mother. So let me back this up a little bit. So Glitter and Glue, the title comes from this thing my mother used to say, which is, your father's the glitter, but I'm the glue. Which, can't you hear Barbara Bush saying that? And this book is really about coming around to her, which took several different stages. My mother and I have very little in common. I am a dance on the table till midnight extrovert, an effusive, affectionate, self-doubting, second-guessing kind of woman who likes nothing better than a long hug and a good cry. And my mother, do you watch Downton Abbey? It's a little bit like Maggie Smith. She's an old school, opinionated woman who likes nothing better than what she calls a party for one. Which is when you take off your bra and pour some Chardonnay over ice and go read your book. Don't you think Barbara Bush is doing that right this second? So anyway, the passage that I'm going to read is really fundamentally about coming to realize that there are some things that I only want to talk about with my mother, which nothing could be more surprising to me. It starts shortly after our second child was born. My kids are here, so you can squirm and think about how much they're squirming right now as I read this. After Claire arrived, during a morning so grueling that when I think about it, my lady parts clamp shut. In an involuntary, sustained kegel. I think half the men in here just turned to their wives and said, "What's a kegel?" And then the other half of the women started kegling. We'll talk about it later. We've moved out of a rental flat in Berkeley and into a well-priced fixer-upper in a tiny suburb with very good public schools. My mom gave us a check to cover the last chunk of the deposit. She had plenty of money saved. Saying no adds up, Kelly. And was no longer afraid I would spoil. I played house, turning doors into chalkboards, making benches from plywood, sewing an ottoman slipcover that my mother-in-law, who's in the third row, joked after a couple glasses of Pinot Grigio, "Doesn't do your living room any favors, honey." I started building my new life, collecting my own pigeons for the road ahead, and I began the transition from my father's breezy relationship with the world to my mother's determined navigation of it. At first, parenthood was as I'd expected, exhausting, sometimes heinous, occasionally divine. I held my children close, close enough to feel them breathe, laugh, swallow. Then my days got more complicated, and although there's nothing unusually challenging about my children, I often find myself responding to their sudden and inscrutable moods, mighty wills, and near constant arguing by turning into a wild-eyed fishwife. My husband was afraid that people wouldn't know what a fishwife was, but I said, my people will know what a fishwife is. Some interactions are so strangely familiar, it's as if I once starred as little orphan Annie and then decades later found myself cast in the revival as Miss Hannigan. By way of example, here's a memorable excerpt from a conversation with Georgia regarding her third grade report on cheetahs. "You missed a section, honey." "No, I didn't," she replies without looking. "The page on reproduction, it's totally blank." "I know, I Googled it and there was nothing." "Oh, I bet there are 500,000 pages about cheetah reproduction." "Not on Google, not when I put it in the nav bar thingy." She says, air typing, as if I'm new to the internet and might need just a little help following her. "Maybe you spelled it wrong. I know how to spell cheetah. I was